The devil seems to be as historically questionable as a great number of saints, heroes, or mythical religious figures. Well, perhaps questionable is not a very precise adjective. Let's rather say it is just as symbolic, a reflection of the human mind in its negative aspect. But would you accept the challenge to explore its positive side? The term devil's advocate comes from a process in the Catholic Church. Its official title was promoter of the faith. Its role was to find fault with the evidence presented for the canonization of a candidate saint, arguing against his sanctity and questioning the authenticity of the miracles attributed, in order to avoid doubts about the merits of the saint. The charge was formally established in 1587 by the energetic Pope Sixtus V, although the practice had existed even earlier. One of the most famous devil's advocates was Prospero Lambertini, later Pope Benedict XIV. During his time as promoter of the faith, he was known for his meticulousness and rigor in analyzing cases of sainthood. The devil's advocate would thoroughly investigate the candidate, search for evidence that contradicted his holiness, question the validity of attributed miracles, present arguments against canonization, and debate with the advocate of God, who defended the cause of the saint. It is curious, by the way, that the religious have considered the figure of God's advocate. Could it be that God needs an advocate more than the devil himself, for the massacres described in the Old Testament or other crimes which, according to some scholars, amount to more than 34 million in biblical times alone? In 1983, John Paul II made a significant reform of the canonization process, reducing the role of the devil's advocate so that he canonized almost 500 saints, compared to 300 in the previous 600 years. Francis holds the record of 942 canonized saints until the end of 2024. Outside religion, the term devil's advocates has transcended its religious origin and is now commonly used to refer to someone who deliberately takes an opposing position in a debate. Not necessarily because he believes in it, but to test the soundness of opposing arguments or to stimulate further discussion. Today, this concept is applied in a variety of fields. In business, to evaluate plans and strategies. In product development, to identify potential failures. In academic debates, to strengthen arguments. In decision-making processes, to consider all possible angles and so on. It is worth noting that, although the religious role of the devil's advocate was reduced, his methodological legacy of critical thinking and systematic questioning is still valued. A Chinese proverb says that it is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. But what if cursing the darkness would help us find better ways to illuminate? If the police are corrupt, but they maintain order and protect society, fulfilling their essential function, are they good? If the devil punishes the bad, then is it good? This is, in essence, the hidden virtue of the devil's advocate, that role that many are afraid to take on and few understand in its true dimension. The devil's advocate is not the group spoilsport, nor the chronic pessimist, nor the saboteur of ideas or the indefensible. He is, on the contrary, the invisible guardian of critical thinking, the silent sentinel of excellence. When at a family gathering someone proposes a seemingly perfect plan, and that voice comes up that asks, "But what if, perhaps he is not trying to ruin the moment?" It is, in fact, weaving a safety net under the tightrope of our decisions. He is anticipating obstacles that might otherwise take us by surprise. Think of the great catastrophes of history. How many could have been avoided if someone had had the courage to stand up and question what everyone took for granted? How many failed projects in our lives could have been saved if we had listened to the one who pointed out the weak points? The true art of being the devil's advocate lies in the delicacy of its execution. It does not destroy, but strengthens. It does not seek to prove others wrong, but to make sure they are right. He is like the goldsmith who strikes precious metal, not to damage it, but to shape it and remove imperfections. In our daily relationships, this practice can transform the way we make decisions for the better. When a friend tells us about his life plans, is it not an act of love to point out possible obstacles he has not considered? When a colleague presents a proposal, is it not a sign of professional respect to examine it from all possible angles? The devil's advocate is, in reality, an optimist disguised as a pessimist. He believes so strongly in the possibility of achieving excellence that he is willing to appear negative in order to help achieve it. He is like the coach who points out every mistake not because he enjoys criticism, but because he visualizes the potential for perfection in his pupil. This noble work requires, however, an equally noble audience. We need to learn to receive criticism not as personal attacks, but as gifts disguised as objections. But we here, is an opportunity to strengthen our arguments. Every doubt raised is an invitation to excellence. In a world where echoes reinforce our biased beliefs and algorithms show us only what we want to see, the role of the devil's advocate is crucial. It is the antidote to herd thinking, the antibody to conformist mediocrity. The next time someone in your environment assumes this character, remember that he or she is not against you. He is for the best possible version of your idea, even if it seems otherwise. It's not your enemy, it's the friend who dares to tell you that you look bad before you go out on the street. Criticism, however negative it may seem, is an opportunity for growth. How do you think this practice could be cultivated in our daily lives? Would it be good to act as devil's advocate when necessary, and learn to thank those who are devil's advocates for us? Deep down, questioning with love is one of the highest forms of caring. Although sometimes questioning, if nothing else, can lend itself to more or less covert aggression, it can become an art, and thus a commendable one. It is said know the truth and it will set you free, though often the truth will shake you and kick you in the ass before it sets you free. But truth, like gold, purifies itself before the fire of criticism. Precisely for this reason it makes you uncomfortable, almost always without sinning. On the contrary, it emerges purer and more valuable after being put to the test. And in this process of refinement, the devil's advocate is not the antagonist of history, but the silent catalyst of progress. Here I take up the challenge I proposed to you at the beginning of this video. I leave you with some interesting questions to answer. Could you play devil's advocate in the case of an enemy of yours? What could you say for and against him? How could it impact on your personal development? What would you do next? If you liked this video, subscribe, give us a like, read the description and share your comments. See you in the next video.